Hello, everybody. Let's talk about making your AI image look like a photograph. What really got me excited and slightly scared about image prompting was the story about the photographer who won the photography competition with a completely AI-generated image. Of course, he declined it, saying that this was the time to open up a conversation. Noble, but I was more focused on how he did it or what he did when I saw the photo. Now, he used DALL-E. I was wondering exactly how did he do that? I was getting a little bit jealous, but I was like, I'm going to figure out how he did it. Because anyone who's ever worked with DALL-E knows it's not easy. The interface is only a prompt box, and pretty much that's it. I tried for months to improve on it, to improve on my ability to actually generate good images. We're using DALL-E, but I really didn't have that much luck. It wasn't until I found Leonardo AI where I felt like my prompting ability was actually improving. But that guy winning the competition was still in the back of my head until I realized something completely obvious. He was a photographer. Photographers know all about lighting and landscape and texture and all that stuff. They have the vocabulary to come up with prompts that will give them the effects that they want in a picture. So I know nothing about that stuff. And I reached out to the Leonardo Discord community and I found someone who pointed me in the direction of lenses and apertures. I went through it, I read through it several times. Didn't get it all, but I got enough to know that, there are lenses that are, 24 millimeter and, 400 millimeter. And I saw in some of the community prompts that those are the numbers that they were using. So I had a better idea of what those numbers now meant. Then there was that aperture, which is that F number. I call it F notation. That had to do with the lightness, darkness, and sharpness, and it's a whole different thing. Believe me. I now have a better idea of what the terms, ultra-wide angle and prime lenses could mean, but I needed to figure out how to prompt that in Leonardo. It wasn't enough for me to do it on my own because I couldn't really see the differences in those numbers. I needed a little bit more help so I can actually say, okay, this is what it's supposed to look like, or this is more like what I'm expecting, though I'm not a photographer. So I needed help from an old friend of mine, ChatGPT. One of the questions I first asked it was, what are some optimal aperture lens millimeter pairings? Not the best prompt, but it got me to what I needed. Knowing those terms is great, but understanding the context requires a level of training I don't have. That's why photography is a year-long or years-long art and science. It takes a while for people to become really good at photography. So what ChatGPT did was that it came up with 5 different scenarios that helped me to understand the settings, the context, and the effects. Now, once I had those scenarios, I asked it for prompts that I could put into an AI image generator, like Leonardo or DALL-E or Midjourney. Here are the results, so let's explore them together. Okay, so let's recap. ChatGPT gave me prompts for the following situations, scenarios when you're doing photography. Portraiture, which most of us are familiar with. Landscape. And notice that the landscape has between 16 and 35 millimeters, which means that it's very wide angle. So, you're looking at, trees, bushes, maybe an animal, whatever, but it's ultra wide, but it's really wide angle. Street photography, wildlife, sports, macro photography, which I have seen some beautiful pictures of that, as well as low light and astrophotography. For this one, I'm going to use Absolute Reality 1.6 to see what we come up. Okay, I was actually playing around with this yesterday and decided to give ChatGPT a try. Let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go ahead, this one is a portraiture. And one of the reasons why I'm fascinated is because I had the bokeh effect. It's well known. You've seen the bokeh effect, but if you're not familiar with it, you probably wouldn't know, because I've done plenty of images. I've generated images on like iPicky and using PicMonkey. I've worked with images like that, so I have an idea of what that is. So let's see what this one comes out with. And again, I'm keeping my prompt magic right where it is. And I want to see what this comes up with right here. It should be nice and beautiful. Quick note, there is a slightly new feature here. They've added this, oh, that looks beautiful. They've added this right here. Basically, you can switch the width and the height. So now, instead of it coming as a portraiture, like a portrait, it's going to come out more landscape-ish. So I've decided to do that just to see what would happen. But you can definitely switch back and forth, and I like that feature because there are times when I wish I could have done it in like a more, maybe I would have done it in a portrait versus a landscape and vice versa. Okay, this is cool. Yep, this is a great portrait picture. And it does have that softness that you expect from a portrait, and that bokeh effect, which is that kind of like that blurry, hazy background light effect that I think is very cool. So yes, I like this. It looks really great. It looks like a great picture. All right, cool. So that's the portraiture one. All right, so now let's go ahead and do this landscape photo and see what comes up with. Now again, I did switch this to the width is going to be 832 and the height is going to be 640. I look forward to checking that out. But before we do that, let me go ahead and just... Okay. Let me go ahead and kind of backtrack a little bit. Now, again, the portraiture, the aperture here is going to be 1.8. I put it like 1.82 and 2.8. That means that it's going to be very well lit, as you can see in here. If that aperture were higher, it would be a little bit on the darker side. And of course, in certain cases, that's what you want. So we'll go over a little bit more about what certain apertures and certain features mean, but that's just what that means right there. Okay. Now this one's going to be a stunning landscape photo that showcases the entire scene in sharp focus. I'm using an aperture of 11, which means it's going to be a little bit darker, and 24 millimeter, which means it's going to be, it's not going to be focused on one subject. It's going to be a very nice, wide landscape view, breathtaking landscape. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, that is stunning. Yep. Can you imagine that this portrait-like image, it's an AI generated photo. It's not an actual photo. It just looks absolutely stunning. And that's one of the reasons why I was so obsessed with adding photo elements to my prompts to make my pictures just look, when I want them to look just absolutely amazing. Look at that. And I can only imagine what it would look like if I chose another fine-tuned model, but I wanted to stick with Absolute Reality because not only do I happen to really like it, but I definitely wanted that realism to what I was generating. Beautiful. All right, so now we're gonna go and use, this is street photography. 35 millimeter, okay. As I mentioned before, it's really, it's great. It was great for me to learn what 35 millimeter, how 35 millimeter was different from 200 millimeter. And that was an easy distinction. But to be able to pair the aperture with the actual length, focal length, that is something I'm not familiar with, so I had to have some ChatGPT help on that. And so far, it has been a great idea. Okay, so let me go ahead and generate this one. Natural, authentic feel, low light conditions, urban environment. So it's using a prime lens, and aperture 1.8, length is 35 millimeter. Oh, wow. Yeah, look at that. I mean, it looks like an actual. This looks. All right, that was gorgeous. Okay, create a dynamic image of wildlife in motion. So this was the wildlife one. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes up here. I've seen some beautiful wildlife photography. 300 millimeter, which means that the focus, like animal, whatever this is going to come up with, is going to be absolutely focused, and the background is going to be a little bit blurry. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, this one comes out a little bit weird because, it's got like basically a leopard in its butt. But still, even though it looks weird, I probably have to edit it. I mean, it looks, the focus is on the primary animal in the front, and the background looks blurred. So it looks like he was really focused. Yeah. This looks more like it. Nice. In motion. Look at that. It's like I just caught him at the right time when he's about to take off. For her. Beautiful. All right. So now we're going to take a look at macro photography. Intricate textures. I look forward to checking this out because I've seen micro photography and I've seen macro photography, and they're both, it's stunning. I love the micro photography because they're just, you don't know what you're gonna find, and when you do look at it, it's like a completely different world. It's a world within our world, like many things. Oh, that it's the tempted to say the pistil of a flower. It's amazing. Central. Actually, it looks kind of like a frog, but it's a kind of a flower frog. It looks stunning. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that looks really cool. I wonder what do you do if you can make like a. I'll play around with it on my own, but I want to see if you can make macro photography of a rose, or even of a hummingbird. Just an amazing, it's stunning. It looks like jewelry. It looks like I'm looking at jewels here, like gold filigree, and then you have these little, maybe could be pearls, and maybe even just rough diamonds. Beautiful. Yep. And then finally, this is astrophotography. So we're going to show something like, it's going to show mountains and then the heavens or the stars against the backdrop. Let's see how I'm excited about this one because I just did a couple of days ago, I did something very similar and it just came incredibly, and it was yarn art. I did his yarn art and I was blown away. That is amazing. It looks like an actual photograph somebody took at like an observatory. imagine infusing these, this type of prompt into anything that you wanted to create. Like if you're creating something from the sci-fi realm and you wanted to show how the stars and the planets and whatever you had on the different moons, imagine being able to put that in there. And that's one of the reasons why I was so impressed and wanted to learn more about how to include photography prompts into my regular prompts. So now that I have this, I'm going to actually go ahead and play around with it a little bit more on my own and see what kind of images I can generate using that kind of language. So I wanted to make sure I was putting it in a way that Leonardo would understand, and that would give me some sort of something similar to what I had in my mind. So this is definitely very helpful. One other thing I am going to do is I'm going to actually do this and see how it comes out in DALL-E. So I'll be right back. Thanks so much for your time. If you could like this video, if you find it useful, it'll help me to figure out what kind of content you want to see. And then there's the YouTube algorithm thing. Yep, we all know how that goes. So thanks for your time, and let's get back to it. Okay, so now I'm in DALL-E. And I haven't been in here for a while, so I forgot how many credits I have. I think I have like 16. I signed up for this. I think I have like 16 credits. You know, one of the things that I loved about Leonardo was that I was able to kind of, not only was I able to see how other people in the community generated their images and emulate them or take their prompts and kind of work with it and learn that way. But because I kind of like the whole thing about the knobs and the sliders and everything, so I can have more control of the image itself, including negative prompting. So let's see what happens when I put in the same prompts, even that were used for Midjourney, DALL-E, and Leonardo. If I put in these prompts and see what I can come up with from them. So these are, let me actually use the f2.0 aperture for this one, and see what happens. Okay, cross your fingers. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've ever come up with an image so I've never come up with such a photorealistic image in DALL-E ever. This one looks a little bit frightening. She looks very surprised. A bit sinister. Still gorgeous. Yeah, I can see that it's kind of, she looks a bit, there's a blurriness to her and her eyes specifically, but still, I don't think I've ever come up with anything this good in DALL-E. Okay, I'm looking forward to trying the next one. Okay, generate. Oh, I am done. This looks great. Like, was that place in Crater Lake? I forgot the exact location on the West Coast. Oh, this is beautiful. This one is, that one caught my eye immediately, and I'm just, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. Oh, I love that, the fog in the background. Oh, this looks kind of like England. Okay, I'm getting excited. All right, so let's try the next one. This one is a street photo. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, the people are kind of... Okay. Yeah, when it comes to people, I find that DALL-E kind of, sometimes I find it disappointing. Because there's really no way for me to I can do variations, but there's really no way for me to kind of clean it up. There's no canvas for me to go to. I can't do image-to-image prompting, so it's still pretty good. I mean, I kind of like this one. It's just, I love the architecture in the building. It looks pretty cool. Okay. This was the wildlife photography. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Not quite sure I've seen an orange deer before, but hey, looks good. It's in motion. It's pretty cool. Oh, this is beautiful. Okay, mishmash there, but still pretty good. I like this one. Like he's in the middle of catching something. Oh, that is nice. Yes. It seems to do animals a lot better than humans. From what I've gathered, whenever I've used it, it doesn't do humans very well, but it seems to do animals and landscapes beautifully, which is what made that guy's portrait even more fascinating. That he was able to come up with that. Okay, next one. Okay, the last one's going to be a challenge because I think the character count for that one is very high, and I don't know if it'll go all the way through, so I might have to truncate it, but we'll see what happens. Okay. Right? Oh, this is the macro photography. Oh, hold on. It's very delicate looking. Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I would definitely use DALL-E for landscape or insight for animals, not necessarily for humans, but I think that's really cool. Okay, for the last one, I'm going to kind of cut it off right here, because I think this would be too long to put into the DALL-E prompts. Maybe this one might be too long. This one, again, it was too long. All right, let me cut off. ISO should be set to a higher value. Okay. Let's go ahead and see how this one goes. Wow. Okay. Yeah, this is what I've seen certain renders from this. Yep. That is beautiful. Yep. That is gorgeous. Yep. That would be cool. Okay. I'm more impressed with DALL-E than I have been. I'm still a Leonardo fan for sure, but I think in certain cases I've now found a way to kind of speak to DALL-E in a way that would generate images that I would want. So I find this to be like a limited secondary option if I decide, I want to kind of get off an Leonardo for a minute to see what would happen. So this is cool. So prompt photography. If you found this valuable, of course, go ahead and play around with it and see what you can do by integrating some of those types of prompts into generations and see what your renders come up with. I think you guys will be thoroughly surprised with the amazing results. So thanks for your time, and I'll see you in the next video.